Yeah, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to take a look at stupid criminals. Criminals do the dumbest things sometimes. Well, I'd say actually probably most of the time because they are criminals after all. So today let's take a look at some of the stupider ones out there who've made the news. So the first one comes from Houston, Texas. Hector Emmanuel Suarez drove home drunk one night outside of Houston, Texas. He ran out of gas as he was driving down the road to his home. And like, any half-wit who had been out drinking and shouldn't have been behind the wheel of a car, when he realized he was out of gas, he waved down the next motorist and said, "Hey, can you help me push my car into my driveway?" So he did that. Unfortunately for Hector, or fortunate, I guess, is the person he waved down was a police officer who was in an actual squad car, and yet he didn't realize those two important things. Hey, I'm drunk, and he waved down a police officer and asked him to help him push it. So he was arrested for DUI, and because he admitted I was driving home and I ran out of gas. Can you help me push it into down the little bit of the road here into my driveway? So guilty as can be. It didn't say in the article how long of a jail time he got, but there's never any reason for drink it and drive. Next one comes from Bozeman, Montana. Eric Helton of Bozeman, Montana, received a letter in the mail one day that said he had won $100 in a local AM/PM gas station contest. All he had to do to claim it was come in with his ID by April 1st, 2019, and claim his prize. Eric Helton, after receiving the letter, realized he only had about 2 days to retrieve the $100 that he had won. Grabbed his wallet, went down to the AM/PM, walked in, and said, "Hey, I'm here to claim my $100 prize." The gentleman behind the counter, the clerk, slid a piece of paper across the table, counter to him, and said, "Just fill out the top part of this. I need your identification." And he reached into his pocket, gave him his Montana State driver's license, and while filling out the form to claim his $100, he said to the clerk, "I'm glad you guys are open. I heard you guys got robbed last week." And the clerk said, "Yes." And agreeing with him, making a little bit more small talk, then Eric slid the paper back over to the clerk. The clerk then looked at the information, and then an officer came up from behind Eric and arrested him. Yes, one of the longest known tricks that the police have used to get criminals to turn themselves in. Eric had just fallen for it. But even better, Eric was the one that robbed the gas station the week before. And he was surprised that they were open because he robbed them. He robbed the actual owner of the gas station at gunpoint, and then came in to claim a prize because he thought that he had won it in a contest. Not the brightest. Next is Jose. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Sims of Torrington, Kentucky, refused to surrender to police until he got 15,000 likes on his wanted poster. He eventually was caught. He did not receive the 15,000 likes on his wanted poster from the police department's social media account, but he still is incarcerated for the crimes that he had committed. Juanita Quinn Casbar pled guilty to stealing an endangered lemur from his local zoo. When he was arrested, the police asked him, "Why did you steal an endangered animal from the zoo?" He said, "I've always wanted a lemur as a pet, so I stole it as a pet." He was wanted on several other burglaries on top of the theft of the lemur. Yeah, right. Next, out of the state of Oregon, Brian Coulter, age 40, stole his daughter's Girl Scout cookie money, $740 to be exact, so he could get exotic massages. Yes, and I'm using that exotic massages to be nice here. They were basically massages with prostitutes, but he stole his daughter's Girl Scout money to get exotic massages. He did eventually have to return the money, the $740. He got a $1,000 fine, and now he has a criminal record. Bright. Next, Dave McCormick pled guilty to 2 felonies for stealing human waste from the city of Memphis, Tennessee. He was a city and parks and sanitation worker, and he came up with an idea to sell compost to organic farmers. And he thought, well, there's no better way to get free, organic waste. There's a whole bunch of it in these fields, and the septic holding tank. They then, it goes into the water, and then they pump it out into a field to dry, and then they compost it and they dispose of it that way naturally. Well, he pulled up with a couple of pickup truck and shovel and shoveled it into the back of his truck and drove off with it, not thinking he works there every single day, and he knew that there were surveillance cameras, and they watched him steal it. His plate number, him, everything was to the exact. He didn't try to disguise himself, not thinking that there was cameras there. He was caught and convicted of stealing 2 felonies for stealing human waste. Next one comes from Marlborough, Massachusetts. Nate Roman, May 15th, somebody broke into his home, and while him and his 5-year-old son were out on the town running errands, they didn't break in and steal his TV and stereo system and everything else. No, they broke in and cleaned his house. They cleaned the kitchen, they made the beds, they cleaned the bathrooms, but they did not do certain rooms of the house, but they broke in and cleaned it. Nate Roman believes that it was actually probably a mistake from a maid service, but the police are still investigating it, and they actually took fingerprints and everything else from the door, front door and back door, because when he returned home, it was all locked up just like it was when he left. But he said he's going to be changing his locks just to be careful. But as I was saying, the police are still investigating this as a break-in and entry, because someone did enter his home illegally and against his will. So that is an actual crime. So if you're a maid out there in the Marlborough, Massachusetts area, watch out. The police are looking for you if you broke in and cleaned this man's home. Next one, Markel Towner, age 26, gave a false name to police when the police were called to an apartment complex to investigate domestic violence call that they had received. When they got there, they found Markel Towner sitting in his car. When they asked him his name, he gave them a false name. The officer wrote it down on a pad of paper and then said, "What about the identification badge that you're wearing around your neck on the chain?" He said, "Oh, yes." He was arrested for domestic violence and charged additionally with lying to a law enforcement officer. So this one's from outside the United States, but has a very unique tie to here in America, because this has happened multiple times here in America. Danish politician Joachim B. Olsen, Olympic shot putter, was running for a political position there in his town and area, and he knew that he needed to drum up support and voters, so he placed ads on Pornhub, and it actually worked out. He was able to get his name out there to enough people to eventually vote for him. Now, like I said, this has happened several times here in America. There have been people who have been running for political office who have uh, printed up T-shirts and handed them out to prostitutes working the streets because people drive by and they see them, and it's free advertising because prostitutes like free T-shirts, I guess. But it has happened several times. There was another gentleman who went to the Bunny Ranch outside of Las Vegas, and he put up two giant billboards. So as customers were coming and going, they saw his name that he was running for sheriff, and that worked. He has actually elected for to a sheriff position. So it's happened. So I guess Pornhub and hookers and brothels are good places to advertise if you're running for a political office. Next one, along the same lines, a gentleman from the Las Vegas, Nevada area who the police have nicknamed the Right Way John. In 2017, 2018, and 2019, this individual showed up in the downtown area and was first stopped because he was handing out condoms to tourists, but he was also stopped and questioned because along with the condoms that he was handing out cash along with that to pay for the services for tourists who found prostitutes. Now it is illegal. Prostitution is illegal in the Vegas Strip area. A lot of people think that it's legal, but it's not. So yeah, but it happens there. I mean, yeah. All right, next one comes from Jacksonville, Mississippi. They call this person the mashed potato saint. The mashed potato saint has been leaving bowls of mashed potatoes all over the city, and it has been going on now for over 3 years. I know it's not really necessarily a stupid criminal, but the bowls of mashed potatoes has gone from a misdemeanor littering to it has ratcheted up there in the Jacksonville, Mississippi area to now a felony. And the police really didn't take it seriously until one day last year when they found over 200 bowls of mashed potatoes spread out all over the city. They're left on the doorsteps. People have put them on top of, whoever's doing this has put it on top of mailboxes. They've left them on police cars. And a lot of them, there is a website that was set up, and whoever it was like a prank. So they were taking photos of these bowls of mashed potatoes. So they would leave a bowl of mashed potatoes, take a photo of it, and then leave, and then do it somewhere else. And they did 200 of them at one time. So it is now a felony. So they are looking for the mashed potato saint who has been leaving mashed potatoes all over the Jacksonville, Mississippi area. Next one is Terry Bender. Terry Bender was arrested 200 miles away from his home. On the day that he was stopped and arrested, the only thing that Terry Bender had on him was his socks, a pair of sandals that he was wearing on his feet along with the socks, and nothing else. He was buck naked, the rest of his body, except for on his man breast, man boobs. He had taped the driver's license on one side, and on the other side, a Ziploc bag with cash and cigarettes. Duct tape. He had duct taped these things to himself. He was arrested and convicted of one count of indecent exposure, and he said to the newspaper there, the Chronicle, that he would been on a bender for a couple of days. So Terry Bender was on a bender, and he didn't remember where he took his clothes off at, but he believed it was next to a stream. His clothes were never found. His car keys were never found. His car was found in another city that he was not arrested in. So, stupid criminals. They're not all out there, with some giant mastermind, master plan. Hope you enjoyed this. You stay safe out there.